Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, lads and lasses, males and females, because as we all know, there is only males and females on this planet for the human race. So welcome to my live stream. I'm very happy tonight because, as many people out there know, mermaids is finally under investigation. Tonight, we're going to discuss the controversial transgender charity Mermaids, which the BBC and the Daily Mail and many other Telegraph and the many other news and press outlets have reported on and, made absolutely clear that this charity is indeed under investigation because, as we all know, it is. And it's made a lot of people happy because a lot of people across the United Kingdom are very, very concerned about this charity, and quite rightly so. A lot of parents are worried that this charity gets anywhere near the children. They don't know what they're going to do. Do you know what I mean? This charity is definitely a controversial charity. So yeah, many people across the globe have taken to social media to express how happy they are that this ghastly charity is finally now under investigation by the Charities Commission, with some people out there going further and asking the police to investigate this controversial charity too. I do agree with that. I think the police do need to investigate this charity, and I think all public money should have been stopped going to this charity a long time ago. But now we are in 2022 and things have changed and the tide is turning. We need to stop funding this ghastly organization. You may have heard Mermaids and their ilk are taking legal action against the professional registered charity LGB Alliance. Mermaids and their ilk are actually trying to remove LGB Alliance's charity status. If you want to read about this silly move by Mermaids to remove LGB Alliance's charity status, please follow the so for people who don't know, many people do now, but LGB Alliance are having to raise £250,000 to fight this complete nonsense brought about by Mermaids, and they're having to raise that money for no other reason but to defend nonsense. It's very silly what this controversial trans charity Mermaids have done, and now they're in the spotlight themselves, which many people predicted. They predicted that Mermaids were going to be in the spotlight when they, tried to, when they took them to court. So that's that. So again, please donate to this LGB Alliance's crowdfunder if you can, and please do share that funder so that other people can see what ghastly Mermaids and their ilk are doing. It won't age well for Mermaids and the other ilk that will all be brought into question in the future. But these organizations are going to find that out in the future. But I'm so pleased that Mermaids is under investigation. So what happened, to cause this investigation by Mermaids, or should I say this investigation of Mermaids by the Charities Commission? Let me give you some background into Mermaids. Let's start with the background and why it became a controversial, ghastly, and much talked about charity, and not talked about in a good way, which many people across the globe, and especially in the United Kingdom, but across the globe, want to have shut down. So Mermaids, okay, we'll start at the beginning. Mermaids say on their website that they have been supporting transgender, non-binary and gender non-conforming people and their families since 1995. So Mermaids is a British charity and advocacy organisation that was founded in 1995 by some parents of gender non-conforming kids, and it did become a charitable organisation in 2015. Back then it was probably a little bit better than now, I think, but maybe not. Their aim, okay, that they claim was to support transgender youths up to the age of 20. I'm too old, but even if I was gender non-conforming, which I'm not, controversial mermaids would be the last place I would seek help or support. If you are gender non-conforming and under 20, I don't recommend you seek help or support from this organization either. Hi, Amy. Thank you for joining me. Great. Great to have you here. You know, as you know, tonight we're going to talk about mermaids. You've seen it all over social media where mermaids are under investigation by the Charities Commission. I'm very happy tonight. I can imagine there is, well, I know there's a lot of happy people out there. Finally, mermaids are being investigated by the Charities Commission, which, you know, is brilliant for LGBT Alliance, because we all knew that once mermaids came out of the spotlight to sue LGBT Alliance, not to take legal action against LGBT Alliance to remove their charity status, we all knew that mermaids themselves would be very much in the spotlight. So that's good. I've just said, you know, basically, yeah, that's the topic of tonight. So let's continue. So yeah, so again, I don't recommend that whether you're gender non-conforming or whatever you claim to be, I do not recommend you seek help from this organization. That's my opinion. I think I'm right. So if you're a kid out there and you're confused about your gender, don't go to mermaids. And if you're family out there, for goodness sake, don't take any advice from mermaids, as I'll read up in a bit. Just drink I haven't got peach tea today. I've got this is Coca-Cola, a little bit of Coca-Cola. I ain't got much actually, so I'm not gonna have enough for the rest of the live stream. But yeah, I've got about 5 sachets of peach tea left. Excuse me. So yeah, I've not got too much of it left, so I'm going to try a different one, I think, in future as well. So yeah, so yeah, so from what I'm seeing, reading and what's coming to light about mermaids now, excuse me, what I'm seeing coming to light about mermaids, I do not recommend that anybody seeks advice. I'm just going to clear my throat because that's better, right? Okie dokie. Yeah, so the controversy likely started, if it hadn't already, and I think it did actually, but it was certainly after January 2016 when a woman, yes, a real one called Susie Green, became the chief executive. Previously, Susie Green had worked as an IT manager at the Citizens Advice Bureau in Leeds, but was a trustee of the Mermaids from 2011. So that was 4 years before taking up this position at Mermaids. I'm going to start by talking about a daughter because I think it's very relevant to Mermaids. So her daughter, Jackie, okay, which I'll put in brackets because I know that there will be people out there that would want me to do that. So her daughter Jackie, brackets, okay, was born a male and is one of the youngest in the United Kingdom to have surgical intervention to transition. But this wasn't carried out in the UK because it would have been illegal at that time, and it still is illegal for people of that age to transition like this. And I understand it's now become illegal. It was actually carried out in Thailand, and I understand it's now illegal for people of this age to actually transition in Thailand too. People can quote me on that, but Jackie was 16. Now, I'm not aware that you can actually transition in Thailand now at 16. They did stop it. You could do, but they stopped it. In the United Kingdom, it's always been illegal at that age. Quote me, you know, if I'm wrong, quote me in the comments. But that is the law in this country and now Thailand. So there's been much controversy about this in itself, and to be honest, some of the things I've heard regarding this whole debacle disturb me. In particular, Susie Green can be seen laughing in a clip about the damage puberty blockers did to Jackie's penis. It didn't allow taking puberty blockers didn't allow it to grow, and that is one of the side effects of puberty blockers. And Susie Green it can be seen mocking to all and sundry in a clip, and this clip has been routinely shared across social media, and it regularly is, showing what really a horrible, really, person Jackie is by doing this. It's yeah. So there is also the question of the influence that Susie Green had regarding Jackie's transition. There were issues with the father, who was, perhaps I understand, homophobic, and there was also talk from Jackie herself about the issues of toys, what Jackie was playing with. For example, Jackie was told she shouldn't be playing with dolls, etc. I've seen Jackie personally write about this, and that in itself opens a lot of questions. Why his parents, ordering their children to be, to do this. So the question that has always been on my mind is whether Jackie was trans, and I'm not actually, that I don't exactly know what trans is supposed to be, other than the fact that a male wants to express themselves as a female, and it doesn't really change, your sex. It doesn't change a lot for me, but no matter what a person does. But anyway, my question is: was Jackie trans in that sort of situation, or was it really the mother's influence? It was the mother, Susie Green, pushed the influence that the mother, should I say, Susie Green, pushed on Jackie from a very, very young age. I don't know what age she started, but there are certainly people that are researching it and saying that it's quite young. And if you start talking to a child very, very young, you're indoctrinating them. And there's a lot of talk about if Susie Green did indoctrinate her biological son into becoming a girl. So the question that's always been on my mind and still is did Susie Green indoctrinate a Jackie to be trans? And what I have concerns with, and this is with regarding all children across the board, why is it that children have got to be rushed into surgery as soon as possible? I mean, Jackie had this surgical intervention to transition when Jackie turned 16 years old. And I'm not hearing good things about Jackie's psychological state. I certainly haven't seen Jackie, recently in anything. But I mean, there is concern about Jackie's psychological state. And Jackie has since left the United Kingdom. Jackie left the United Kingdom quite a while ago. And it's quite worrying as to what's happened here. And that it's very much a topic which is regularly talked about across social media, and for reasons I think it should be, to be quite honest. So the question is whether too many mistakes really transitioning people so young as this. I mean, we don't know really whether Jackie is actually still believes that she's a girl, or whether Jackie might have realized that she's not a girl. You know what I mean? And this is where the problem is. And I'm sorry that I use the she pronoun there for people who get, but I mean, we don't know. We don't know whether, Jackie is still happy being a girl, or be a woman now, or Jackie is still happy being a boy. We just don't know this. And this is a question that too many mistakes have been made by people transitioning as quickly. They're rushing them into transition, and evidence shows that people are being affirmed after just one appointment at the gender clinics. And this is happening in the United Kingdom. This was proven in the United Kingdom, that sometimes people are being put on puberty blockers after just one appointment. Is really Jackie one of them where a mistake's been made? You know what I mean? This is a question. So in 2019, Susie Green dropped action as well against a woman who said that she had mutilated a child. There's been a lot said about this. A lot of people are concerned, and there's a lot of people seeing it from different angles. But Susie Green did drop that litigation in 2019. I just wanted to point that out. So, moving on to mermaids. Mermaids isn't just a help advice group. It's a lobby group, and from 2000, and this was before Susie Green joined, Mermaids, alongside another campaign group, Gender Identity and Education Society, actively lobbied clinicians at the NHS Gender Identity Development Service, which is known as GIDS, for an early intervention on kids. This is where the worry starts, really, because I'm not really sure this, to be honest, this is so controversial. And there's even a lot of medical professions saying that this has gone too far. So this started by Mermaids campaigned, you know what I mean, to bring this rubbish in, and this is where we are now. So Mermaids are at fault for the fact of what's happening in these gender clinics, and they're responsible. They're responsible what's happening to our children today in the United Kingdom because they lobbied for this crap, and this is why they were quite a concern. So as we know, children, even in the United Kingdom, across the Western world, but even in the United Kingdom, are fast-tracked on puberty blockers. Some have said just after one consultation, which is outrageous. You're giving you're giving an experimental drug to children, which actually does have a lot of side effects. And after one session, I mean, this is not having an aspirin. This is having a life-changing drug. And a lot of people out there, you get a lot of trans lobbies say, well, but puberty blockers is not, it doesn't have any side effects. It's not life-changing. It kind of is, and if you look at the research on puberty blockers, there's a lot of side effects. It is life-changing because you're holding back a puberty, but you're not just holding back a puberty, you are damaging organs, your sexual organs. You are damaging it, and it's proven this is what happens. Puberty blockers are not exactly the right choice, for kids. It's really concerning. And then they fast tracked onto sex hormones at 16, which as we know is they are not, without any shadow of a doubt, they are not they're not reversible. Really, like puberty blockers are not reversible for the damage it does, but cross-sex hormones do a lot more damage. If you change your mind later on in life, that's damage. But hormones are doing damage. They're doing a lot of damage to people, and it's irreversible. It really is. Lots of consequences that people are having, taking hormones. And as we all know, this is preparing them for evasive and irreversible surgery. And this is done at such a young age. I mean, you can understand. I mean, if adults want to do this, they should have a right to do what they want to do. But this has been brought on children, and it's not on, and they're preparing these children. And the ironic thing is, a lot of these transgender people in the 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, they're not taking hormones. They're not having evasive surgeries. They're keeping the penis, but they're trying to get the kids to have theirs castrated. Isn't that funny? Something's definitely not right there. Right. And then we've got the situation that any parents that are objecting to this fast tracking of their children, objecting to any part of this treatment, they'll be made to feel extremely awkward and accused of transphobia. And back in the day, I mean, a few years ago, there was nobody out there like, there is now, to actually protect these people. Well, I don't think there is now. I mean, once they've got your kid, I mean, it's been taken out of the parents' hands, and it's awful. It really is. To think what we've done to the parents a lot, and to think what we're doing to the children, but to think what we're doing to the parents, this is awful. This should never have been allowed to happen in the UK. Shouldn't have never been allowed to happen anywhere in the Western world. But hopefully, I do hope that the tide is turning, and I do hope we have more sense in the future. But it can go either way. But we'll see. So we've got a lot of mistakes happening. it's a lot of detransitioners are rearing their heads, and the mistakes by these doctors and medical professionals are creating many detransitioners. So there's quite a few detransitioners out there that are saying, hang on a minute, why were adults allowed to do this to me? And there's more detransitioners on the way. There's many detransitioners that are going to be coming out in the future that are going to say, why did these medical professional people who should have known better ruin my body? And this is a question that I keep seeing raised on social media time and time again with detransitioners. It's a real tragedy what has been happening to our children. It's a big medical scandal, and we're right in the middle of it. We're right in the middle of this medical scandal. And I always tell people, if you've got son or daughter, or you're listening to this and you are gender non-conforming and you're worried about, think about what you are doing. Nobody can change sexes. And when they're changing bodies, when they're operating on you to change your bodies, they can't really do that. So it's only going to be a patch up. And a lot of these patch ups are turning out, not good. A lot of people are suffering consequences through trying to change sexes, because you can't change sexes. Not in an operation. It cannot be done. It's just impossible. So you're getting a patch up. You've been sold a lie, and they're patching your body up. That's the truth. So Susie Green worked. Susie Green worked with these two. Now, I don't know at what point when Susie Green came to work with them, but she did actually work with them on this as well to make early interventions for children. And GIDS then began prescribing puberty blockers for kids and made them widely available. So, Susie Green's also responsible quite a lot for what's happening in these gender clinics today. I'm sure there'll be people out there that are saying, well, she's done a great job. I don't really think she has. I think what she's done is she's got these doctors, that are now prescribing quite dangerous drugs, if you like, to children who really don't know what they want. I know, I've been a kid. What I believed when I was a child is totally different to what I believe today. And I think this is I think this transgender trend, when it goes away, we're going to be having all these people that are walking around thinking, hang on a minute, I've made a mistake. As well as the detransitioners that have already coming out. There's going to be big problems in the future with this. This isn't something. This is trendy at the moment. That's the thing. Being trans has been made to look trendy. It's really not. I really feel deep for these children that are going and being sold this lie. They're going to doctors to be sold a lie and pretend that they can change sexes, to pretend that they can have a sex operation and they can be the opposite sex. And it's really it's not true for the operation, which is a patch up. It's not true socially, because gay men are not going to fancy trans men who claim they're gay. The same that women, are not going to fancy, lesbians are not going to fancy men who call themselves lesbians. All this is a lie. It's been sold a lie. And many trans people that I'm seeing, or certainly some out there, are very honest that as soon as they've turned trans, as soon as they've gone on the hormones and they've gone on the operation, nobody wants them, and they can't get a relationship, and all these consequences are going to come from things that, from decisions that were made from children as young as 12, 13, some as young as 6 years old, have been made by the parents to dress up in a different gender to what their natural born sex is. And this is happening. It's just not right. We'll see this. We'll see this this medical scandal and this whole debacle unfold in the coming years, and it's not going to be good. I can guarantee that. And we're seeing it now. We can see it's not good, and it's going to get worse and worse and worse until it gets better. And it's such a shame that we've got to butcher our children in order to go through the system to find out at the other end, we've made a mistake. My question is, how many detransitioners need to be brought out, before medical professionals realise they've made a mistake before the trans lobby realise, there's too many. Is it going to be 20? Is it going to be 100? Is it going to be 1,000? Million? How many do you need to say, oh, okay, we've made a mistake? Or is it just the fact you're never going to do that? You're just going to carry on trying to butcher children. So a clinical psychologist, Kirsty Entwistle, who was GIDS, she was on the GIDS staff from 2017. She came out and said those who'd connected with mermaids were terrified because they'd been told that their child was going to kill themselves if they didn't get puberty blockers. So this is what mermaids were doing to children, and this is what Kirsty, what was her name? This is what a clinical psychologist, Kirsty Entwistle, said. That mermaids were telling, children, to tell the parents that they were going to kill themselves if they didn't get puberty blockers. This is what a charity was doing. This is what a publicly funded charity was doing. That's what mermaids were doing. This is disgraceful. This charity shouldn't be publicly funded. It should be shut down completely. GIDS themselves described suicides as extremely rare. So again, my question is, why are mermaids encouraging kids to tell gender clinics, the doctors in gender clinics or the advisors in gender clinics, that they feel suicidal? They're telling children to lie to doctors, and we all know why. Because that way they get, that way they're going to get the puberty blockers regardless. They're not going to look into this properly. Mermaids have no intentions of talking to the child. They want to send the child in to get puberty blockers. And this is what they're doing. Totally wrong. So it's another serious concern about this ghastly charity that is mermaids. Thankfully, in July 2020, July 2022 this year, which is July this year, okay, and following the publication of the independent CAS review, NHS England decided to close GIDS down, the gender identity services down at the Tavistock Centre, the Tavistock Gender Clinic, and it was reported in the CAS report as unsafe for children. So, the Tavistock is going to close down. It's not actually closed down yet, but the CAS report has closed the gender clinic down. Now, the Mermaids CEO, Susie Green, again, she actually said that she was cautiously optimistic, but oddly expressed concern that priority must be given to mental health. So she's expressing concern that priority was going to be given to the mental health of children as opposed to the surgery and drugs, or medical care, as she called it. I'm not really sure that piling on drugs and surgery on children is that much of medical care, but I think really and truly we need to get into the medical side of it. If a child is saying, oh, I'm confused about my gender, we need to find out why. You know what I mean? There's lots of consequences, but a lot of these people that are being trans are either gay or lesbian, they've got mental health problems, we've got a lot of sexual abuse children. We need to find out why, because many of those children don't need to be affirmed. They don't need surgery. They don't need drugs. But Susie Green's obviously wanting these children on drugs. She's obviously wanting these children to have surgery. This is what I think this is the problem with Susie Green. This is the problem a lot of people have with her. She's pushing the kids on this. That's what she's doing. It's something I really cannot accept, what Susie Green's doing. There's too many mistakes being made. There's children particularly confused about their gender should be able to access full mental health services. Certainly before they go on a lifetime pathway of drugs and surgical intervention. Surely it would, to find out whether they were ideal for this, and I can assure you that most children are not. If there are children who are definitely going to follow that path in life, that's fine, but they shouldn't be doing it as kids. They should be as adults. It shouldn't be a decision they're making at 9 and 10 and 12 years old, and that's why so many mistakes are being made. So surgical intervention is trying to change someone's genitals, and it isn't as easy as what people think. In fact, it's actually impossible. You know, and this is why we've got people walking around with colostomy bags and suffering many consequences from these surgeries, and as well as dangerous side effects from the drugs. You know, you know, you cannot change sexes. Therefore, okay, when you get this medical intervention, okay, it's only a patch up. It's a patch up job. You're being sold a lie. And that's why we're getting these problems. And not only that, a lot of people are realizing, well, hang on a minute, I thought I was a different gender, but I'm not. It wasn't that. You know what I mean? It was other things. And now we've got, well, oh, you know, well, you've been mushed into surgery, another mistake's been made. This is kind of what's happening, and things need to change, you know, because this with mermaids, it's children that are suffering with this. Young children, vulnerable children, mentally ill children, autistic children, lesbian and gay children. You know, these are the ones being caught up in this rubbish, mainly. Right, so what caused this investigation of mermaids, as everybody, apart from all this? Yes, well, that had a lot to do with it, I'm sure. Well, mermaid staff have been in court recently, foolishly trying to remove the charity status from LGB Alliance. The crowdfunder for LGB Alliance is in the information. And in court, mermaid staff made it absolutely clear that they don't give medical advice. So why have mermaid staff with no medical training given advice to kids as young as 13, stating that experimental hormone blocking drugs are safe and totally irreversible? Now, they've been doing this all the time. So, you know, yeah, okay, they can't give medical advice because they're not medical, but this is actually, if they're telling people that hormone blocking drugs are safe, which they are not, and they're telling them that it's totally reversible, which actually it's not totally reversible. Even puberty blockers is not totally reversible, because if you take two puberty blockers, okay, it's stopping puberty and it's stopping a lot of things. So things are not growing. So it isn't actually reversible, you know. So this is lies. And they're giving out this medical advice to people, and it's lies, you know. So, as many of us are expected now, mermaids themselves are now very much in the spotlight because of them, you know, trying to. Well, they've finally been brought in the spotlight. They needed to have been brought in the spotlight well before now, but they're in the spotlight now. They've gone and sued LGB Alliance. Now they're in the spotlight. So it's also come out as a reason why they're being investigated. It's also come out that this controversial trans charity mermaids are sending breast flattening devices to underage kids behind their parents' back. I mean, it doesn't get any worse. You know, can it get any worse? I mean, you know, parents are not even aware, or they've said no to the kids, or they're not even aware about this. And parents have got a duty to look after children. And mermaids are there sending breast flattening devices behind parents' backs. Campaigners, including MPs, have said that there are massive safeguarding issues over controversial mermaids, and they've called for immediate investigation by the Charities Commission, and some have also called for the police to get involved. The Met Police clearly state on their website that chest binding could be child abuse. Well, I mean, if it's done behind the parents' back in the way that mermaids are sending breast binders out, okay, to children at any address that the child says so that the parents don't know about it, that is child abuse. Do you think that is kind of I think it is, because if the parents can't look after the child, because these children are under 16, okay, and if the parents have got no knowledge, and an organized, a publicly funded organization, mermaids, are sending these out, that to me is child abuse. I think the Met Police or other police forces should be getting involved in this, because this is child abuse. You know, they're doing this. You know, you imagine if LGB Alliance started sending out breast blinders to underage kids. Oh, You know what I mean? They'd be screaming, shouting, and everything. Why is it any different to mermaids? Mermaids shouldn't be doing this behind parents' backs. So they're now being investigated through it. So yeah, that's it. So breast binding, incidentally, can cause chronic back pain, breathing difficulties, changes to the spine, particularly to children whose their spines are still developing, and broken ribs. Mermaids have apparently been supplying these to children as young as 13, despite the fact that their parents have either objected to them in the first place, or the child or the child's parents had absolutely no knowledge. Dr. Hilary Class, a former president of the Royal College of Pediatrics, described breast binders in the CAS report as painfully and potentially harmful. There's been many concerns. Campaigners, MPs, and medical professionals have also with regard to mermaids. So it's a lot of doctors that are speaking out, a lot of medical professions, MPs are speaking out against mermaids, or lots of newspapers now are covering the story. This has been going on for a long time, and it's very, very concerning what mermaids have been doing all this time. It, it, it's time now that mermaids were investigated properly by the Charities Commission and properly by the police. This is wrong. How has this charity been allowed to do this? Because let's face it, next time it could be your children. If you've got kids, and they get online and suddenly they want a free breast binder, there's nothing you can do because you don't know it's happening because it's been done behind your back. Also, evidence of mermaids online help centre offering advice to kids as young as 13, telling them that I think I've stated that the hormone blocking drugs are safe and totally reversible. But I saw in court that mermaid staff said that they didn't offer medical advice. So why are they telling kids as young as 13 that these hormone blocking drugs are safe and totally reversible, which of course they're not, and they're doing it without medical experience? Because so it's lies. They're telling people lies, but they are giving medical advice. Because these things are not safe. They have side effects and they're not totally reversible. But they stated in court that that mermaids do not give medical advice. So have they lied in court? Is this what this is all about? In the case between LGB Alliance and mermaids and their ilk, have they been telling lies? Because, if they've lied in court, that's contempt. And this needs to be investigated. So maybe the courts need to get involved, because we all question that. A lot of people, including myself on social media, question the fact that mermaids don't give out this advice and this medical advice, because it looks like that to me. It needs to be investigated by the courts as well. In another situation with mermaids, evidence has also emerged that moderators like 12 to 15-year-olds behind the parents' back, to start to discuss how they can start raising money, to start taking drugs and the best way to take testosterone. And yeah, this is for 12 to 15-year-olds that they're doing this to. Very constant. The child safeguarding with regard to mermaids is very, very concerning. We need these people to be. They need to be shut down. There needs to be a lot more investigations going on with mermaids from a lot of different bodies. Government bodies need to be investigating mermaids. We need this organization really shut down. They shouldn't be doing this to our children. So you see why mermaids is extremely controversial. You see why an investigation into mermaids is long overdue, certainly by the Charities Commission, but also the police. They need to be investigated. Parents are rightfully saying that the advice this ghastly charity is pushing in these forums for underage kids have simply pushed their children into believing that they are trans. And that's right. I mean, what's happening in this forum for these kids are underage. These kids are vulnerable. Some are mentally ill, some have been sexually abused, some are autistic, you've got gay and lesbian children. And mermaids are pushing them. That's what parents believe, that parents are pushing them into believing that they're trans, leading to these vulnerable children to want irreversible drugs, and medical treatment simply to cure them. And these are children, 12-year-olds, 13-year-olds, are believing they've got an illness that they need curing with drugs and surgery. And that's what parents are saying. If you have children of your own of that age, or any age, to be quite honest, you yourself should be very, very concerned about mermaids' activities, because your child could be next. This could happen to your child. It's very, very, very concerning, of what they've been allowed to do. Evidence has also surfaced that mermaids have been mailing out these free breast binders to kids from 13 years old and behind their parents' backs since 2019. So it's been going on for about 3 years. I mean, the evidence is there now. The evidence has been put in the spotlight. This charity, this publicly funded charity, should not be doing what they're doing. Should not be mailing free breast binders to underage kids behind parents' backs. Parents need to know what's going on. They're the ones who are looking after their child. The parents need to get involved, but mermaids want it done behind parents' backs. Very, very concerning. Stephanie Davis-Ara, who herself is trans and the founder and director of Transgender Trend, which campaigns for evidence-based healthcare for kids, said that mermaids should not be sending breast binders out behind parents' backs. Parents are the primary caregivers, and they have ultimate responsibility for their health and welfare. To exclude parents from really serious decisions like this is anti-safeguarding. An investigation into mermaids is long overdue. People have been raising concerns for quite a few years now. The Charities Commission and anybody who is recommending mermaids or using them for training need to really seriously think about child safeguarding. And I totally agree. The Tory MP for Penistone and Stocksbridge, Miriam Cates, said the charity is stating an extreme position on gender ideology, and it is going behind the parents' backs to speak to children. This raises huge safeguarding red flags. A worrying thing about this controversial charity is that Mermaids is paid to train teachers, police forces, NHS staff, and social services on dealing with trans issues. I find this extremely worrying, distressing, and things really need to change. This charity is said to have received more than £20,000 in taxpayers' money from grants and more than £500,000 from the National Lottery. So the National Lottery have given this charity £500,000. How has this been allowed to happen unchecked? It's very, very concerning. I mean, Britain's celebrity icon J.K. Rowling tweeted out corporations and celebrities who have been cheering on mermaids without doing the slightest bit of due diligence should feel ashamed. Actress Emma Watson, one of those people, TV presenter Jamila Jamil, and the Duke and Duchess of Sussex are among some of that have publicly supported this controversial and ghastly charity. Wagamama's, the restaurant chain, said it was honoured to be partnering with this inspirational charity. Starbucks also sold mermaids cookies in 2020 and donated 50p of the proceeds to the controversial charity. James Essers, who is a co-founder of the Thoughtful Therapist Group, said companies should definitely not be donating to this charity. If many of the corporations knew exactly what Mermaids was doing and what was happening to them, what was happening behind the scenes, I would hope that they would not want to give the money to them. What they are doing is an abuse of safeguarding. They are undermining the duty of care that parents that parents and going behind the back and going behind their backs of parents to enable a form of self-harm for very young and vulnerable children. Maya Fostata, who is the co-founder of Sex Matters, said giving breast binders to children behind parents' backs is not okay, and said that mermaids should not be in schools. Yeah, I mean, this is a story, completely. I just wanted to mention as well, if I can find it, that Nancy Kelly has said that she's tweeted out today, I've just donated to Mermaids Gender because trans children and their families deserve support and care. And organizations advocating for trans people's rights, including my beloved Stonewall, are under attack as never before. She says she hashtagged LGB with the T, and she also hashtagged protect trans kids. The reason I wanted to mention Nancy Kelly is Nancy Kelly is the CEO of Stonewall. Stonewall is another organization which has become very controversial over the last several years, with many lesbians, gays, and bisexuals, and even trans people walking away from that organization. Yeah, you do that, Nancy, but you're making a bit of a fool of yourself by donating to an organization that's done all this and is now themselves in being investigated by the Charities Commission. Just wanted to mention that. J.K. Rowling, has also tweeted out today, the great icon, the great British icon, J.K. Rowling. She said the mermaids gender moderators, so mermaids moderators, only note of caution to the children on the website forum was that they shouldn't use the name mermaids for their Discord group. Now, I missed the top one of that. I'll just read the first tweet that she actually did. So she said, for those who haven't read the Times article, a moderator on the Mermaids Forum encouraged gender questioning children to move their discussion off the Mermaids Forum and onto Discord, a platform notoriously for hosting graphic content and failing to verify users' ages. Second tweet, which I've just read, is the Mermaids moderator only note of caution to the children on the Mermaids Forum was that they shouldn't use the name mermaids for their Discord group.